Yeah, that's Jason's birthday today.
Who?
Nathan's.
The Morrison City Council to order. Clerk, would you call the roll?
Bruckner.
Here.
Cruz.
Here.
Mahaffey. Schlegel.
Here.
Travell.
Yes.
Tickler. West. Here. Zeidema.
Here.
Stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I do not believe anybody has signed up for public comment. We don't have any presentations. Chief submitted a written report. Do you have anything to elaborate on that?
No, just to highlight Officer Roman importance anniversary dates.
All right.
Kurt 16 years and Mike's 28 total. And Officer Simmons, we ended up getting a Form C, it's instructor certificate. Brian knows that he can now, we can get credit through the state of Illinois for the classes he teaches us. Before we could, we could get these certain hours. So he worked on that. He was able to get it for 3 different classes. So that was pretty good. And we work on the CAS continues to be a enjoyable process, but it's going to be worth it in the end.
Excellent. Thank you. Nathan?
Yes, we have youth T-ball started. They're starting practices this week. The complex is packed. We have 7 games tonight, plus T-ball practices all around, just kind of wherever they can find space. We're supposed to hopefully have this Morrison Outdoor Parks adventure, but we're kind of low attendance, so it might be canceled. But I got one more push tonight to see if we can get some more kids signed up. And we also have a 12U tournament this weekend on Saturday and Sunday. And also the Chargers play Saturday too. So this weekend will be busy too.
Okay, we have the treasurer's report, and we'll discuss that there. Okay, city administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to point out a couple things to look forward to in the future, if you will. We are reapplying for the DNR Open Space Lands Acquisition and Development Grant for the playground project that we tried for last year, but did not get awarded that grant. So we're going to give it another shot this year. There's a public hearing process. The next meeting will be the first of 2 of those meetings. That meeting will just be to introduce the grant application and to seek public input. It's a requirement of the grant. And then the first meeting of August, we'll do it again. And then the council will then consider to approve applying for the project again. We're also going through the process for Tractor Supply Company with their sign, because the signs that they want to put up are in violation of our established ordinances. And so they're requesting a variance. They simply want to put their basic go-to sign along the road and signs on the building. So we're working through that process, so that'll be coming up in the next couple of meetings. And then before you is a copy of the fiscal year 24 audit report. I'll provide you with a copy tonight. And at the next meeting or so, it'll formally be on the agenda for your action to review, to approve, etc. So I just received those today, so I haven't even looked through the final report, but I thought I'd get it to you tonight. So that's all I have.
All right, thank you. There are 4 items on the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to remove any one of those items? If not, would there be a motion to approve those 4 items? It's on the table for further discussion. Are there any questions on any one of those items? You have the minutes, the bills payable, the treasurer's report, and the signage request. Hearing none, clerk, would you call the roll?
Bruckner,
Yes.
Cruz. Yes. Schlegel,
Yes.
Trevelt,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Zeidema.
Yes.
Motion carries.
The first item for possible action consideration, resolution 2404, which appropriates motor fuel tax funds for engineering services for the bridge replacement. City Administrator Melton teed that up in his note to us on Friday. We have appropriated and spent those funds for the engineering services, but we are required to pass a resolution doing that. If someone would move and second, we could get that on the floor for further questions and discussion. All right, it's on the floor for further discussion. City Administrator, would you like to add to your comments?
Just that this is just part of the formal process that IDOT caught, perhaps 4 years later. We actually paid or reimbursed the Whiteside County Highway Department for our portion of those expenses. It says 142,000 in the ordinance or in the resolution. However, our part of it was only a portion of that, and that's, as I said in my notes, the 35,000 that we paid back in 2020. So this is pretty much a formality at this point.
So we're not repaying it again.
No,
No.
no.
Some of these papers are 4 years
Yeah.
old.
Yes, that's all the documentation attached to the engineering services from 2020. Yes. We're just appropriate, we basically have to appropriate motor fuel tax money to the project, because that's how we paid for it.
Part of this is for appraisals. Do we pay for the appraisals that's done on the west side of the creek? Because the ones they're showing, they show 3 high school, McDonald's, and then Brown property. At one time, the same people own the north side and the south side on the property west of the creek.
Well, we are paying,
According to this paper in here, we're paying for that appraisal.
well, the appraisal is part of the engineering services that we're paying a portion of.
Okay.
Any further questions or discussion? If not, clerk, would you call the roll?
Bruckner,
Yes.
Cruz. Yes. Schlegel,
Yes.
Trevelt,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Zeidema.
Yes.
Motion carries.
We have received a quote on maintenance of our alleys. We would like to ask the council to waive the formal bidding process and accept that quote. Do we have a document of the quote, or
Yeah, it's in the packet.
is it? Okay. What, sorry. The agenda doesn't refer to a page number.
Because it was all bundled together, starting at 48.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, so it's put together
and
with
four
item
together.
4. Thank you, sorry.
Sorry.
I need to read ahead. Appreciate that. So the quote starts at page 48. If we were to accept that quote, we would have to approve the waive formal bidding process. It might be good to discuss the quote first and then ask for motions on items 3 and 4. Do you want to talk a little bit more about the quote, other than what you gave a good description of that also in the.
Sure, just briefly, as I said in my notes, our attempt here was to do some alley work. A lot of our alleys are in very poor condition. Late last year, I put together an inventory of alleys and had Mike Garland review the condition, and we kind of rated them together and decided what our plan was and prioritized them to really look at it as a big picture. So then I started looking around for options or opportunities to get this done without going through a formal bidding process and making this a significant street project, even though they have to be done. As a lot of you know, they're in pretty bad shape. So instead of, I talked to our engineer, Willett Hoffman. They gave me some advice. They said, if you blacktop those alleyways, you might as well treat it like a street, because you're going to get into a lot of issues with drainage, because a lot of the alleyways go right up to the property line. And if you put a asphalt surface there, then you might have to curb and gutter or slope the asphalt to keep the drainage out of people's garages, off their yards, etc. And they said a very cost-effective way to do it is to simply pulverize it, grade it, add gravel, aggregate where needed, and then have it compacted, and then just do a little due diligence, maintaining it from year to year, and being careful how you snow plow. We could perhaps put guides on the bottom of the snow plow, so when we are plowing on one specific plow, and just have them do alleyways, so we're not essentially destroying the alleyways when we snow plow them. Basically, we just be skimming the top of them with the gliders on the plows, so we're not, like I said, making a big mess. So in talking to them, they said that there's only one contractor in this area that has the correct equipment to do what we were looking to do with our alleys, and that was Porter Brothers. So we certainly can put this out to bid, because as we all know, contractors can rent equipment as well. But when Porter Brothers came back with this quote, I said, okay, so how many alleys is that? That's the entire list. The quote for $98,000 is to do all the alleys on the entire list. I don't know that we can get all that done in a year anyway, but we can certainly do at your pleasure, whether we go down that road and try and do them all this year, or do a portion of them for the next couple of years, do one area of town at a time rather than doing the worst one here and there. We could do it however you want to do it, because I'm sure everybody has their fair share of alley issues in their ward. So I wanted to bring this to your attention. I wanted you guys to see this. one alleyway is approximately $3,000 to $4,000, depends. Some of the alleyways are 10 foot wide, some of them are only 9 foot. Some even get a little narrower than that. But the intent is to go through there with at least a width of 9 feet. And pulverize it, grade it, add gravel and compact it. So with that, I guess I'll just leave it up to you guys. You can waive the formal bidding process, even though the purchasing policy in the state statute allows it. If you look at this by doing it as an ongoing maintenance project, where you are doing one little project at a time, you can certainly get past the formal bidding process. But if you feel you want to put this out for formal bidding to see if we can get a better price, I think $6 a square yard is pretty good. I guess I'll leave it up to you guys and see what you guys want to do.
Are we gonna hear from Mike about this before we? We're gonna hear from.
Mike's not here, but
I'll plow with this question.
Is there anybody here to talk about this though? No, nobody to talk about.
what more do you, I mean, what more do you need to know about it?
Well, the only thing I would say is that all of a sudden we're gonna fix all the alleys. We've been talking about this for a long time. I don't know, why did this all come up all of a sudden?
Well, I was just gonna say it, because we're not doing a major road project this year,
This is
it just kind of seems it seems a logical time.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for the last couple budget years. We've been talking to Mike about it, especially with the alleyways down in the tree streets and a couple other alleys in town. We get, I don't want to say on a regular basis, complaints about the alleys in City Hall, but
I would say regular basis.
yeah, you do. So,
My working complaint.
oh,
It's true.
oh.
Yeah, if just for Kevin, this would be
Yeah.
nice.
The only reason why I bring up them all at once, because when I saw the bid and I asked, still learning the process, they said, well, that's for the entire list you gave us. We can do the whole town for that. Not all the alleys need it. There are a few alleys that are in really good shape.
Does the price change if we pick and
Well,
choose
I suspect,
per square foot though? Or square yard, however they quoted it? So if you
if we did less,
say you did a third of them this year, say you broke it in 3 years, is your per square yard gonna change, do you think?
I don't know. I'd have to ask that question.
So are there any other small projects around town that are being considered as well, or is this the only one?
Well, back when we were doing budget preparation, we talked about not doing any major street projects. And that we could be doing some sidewalks and little repairs here and there, and alleys. Alleys seem to be a pretty popular discussion with at least Mike and I and some of the community, and people complaining about them, but
Yeah.
we were hoping, yeah, we were hoping that they were, it would be a pretty cost-effective thing to,
Well, I'm
to
not
do a
against,
little.
I'm not against it.
Okay, no, your
Just
questions
kinda
are good.
curious about, you know,
Questions
how
are
we're gonna
valid.
Go on this, I see, you know, you're gonna take money out of here and pay for the bridge, and then
That's all.
this and that, we've got such a limit as to what money can we spend on actually fixing the streets.
Right,
The alleys are more or less out of sight and out of mind. But except for people that drive on them all the time, I know that would be a plus. I just wondered if there isn't something else around that really is begging to be fixed this year that isn't gonna cost an arm and a leg, just a small thing.
I think, well, I think doing a portion of alleys would be a worthwhile expense to the city, because it's part of the infrastructure as well. A lot of people use alleys. And we get the feedback from them on the alleys. And a lot of the street projects that we want to do and have to do are much more significant projects that we, you know, as we mentioned before, have to do every couple of years to build up enough funding to do that. While still putting a little aside, maybe to do things such as alleys.
So there's absolutely no way that we can't increase the amount of money that we spend on streets. No way in hell are we ever gonna be able to spend more money. According to what, state law or our
No, that's up
constitution?
to you. It's up to you, but if you wish to make the general fund, lower the general fund a little bit, spend some money, we have the itinerary, or not the itinerary, but the hierarchy of our street priorities, and I think, you know, if you want to revisit that can be revisited and move some of those up.
Greg, I've often wondered before, I can't remember when that 1 cent sales tax passed, you guys, that was. what,
2014.
2014. It's like, what did we do before that? Did we raid it?
Nothing. We did nothing.
We did nothing,
Zero.
right?
And
Yeah,
it shows.
Yeah, definitely.
yeah. Well, I mean, and where was the money? I mean, what could we? I mean,
Well,
what a
the money was
difference.
there somewhere, we just allocated it somewhere else. And
Yeah,
now we get to the alleys and they're horrible, which I agree. The people that live on the alleys and us garbage people, we drive down the alleys, which are horrible all the
Yeah.
time. And I question myself, why haven't we addressed these years ago? But if we can do it for less money and if gravel is the way to go, we have to move forward
I
to
think-
something.
I think I guess what I meant by that, John, is that, before we had that 1 cent sales tax, there obviously was discussion on the city council to occasionally do a road here or there. I mean, I guess my point is like, yeah, there is, if we wanted to relook at allocations, God, we had, you know, those conversations must have taken place before the 1 cent sales tax. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In some capacity, and so it's not out of the realm that we can still talk about it beyond that 1 cent sales tax, is what I'm saying.
It really doesn't bring in all that much money. But I was told somewhere along the line that the general fund, there's a limit on the general fund as far as how much you keep in there, and now there's more in there than there should be. And I don't think that there would be anything wrong, you know, rather than spending it, not that I'm against any of this stuff, but say, rather than spending it on carpet somewhere or this or that or whatever, it seems like we should be able to find more money to do more work on the streets. That's my position.
Well, it's pretty limited.
And I think that, at least since my time in Morrison, I think this council has done a great job in moving forward and attacking some of those projects. And as y'all know,
Last
taking
year
on some of the
was a
debt.
Good year.
Yeah, last year was a good year. We're getting some state work in town, and we're gonna have to seek grant funding for some of those projects. It's just gonna have to happen that way, but, and you know, cost goes up. It costs more, a whole lot more now than it did even 5 years ago to do a section of road in town. It's ridiculous.
It's gotta slow down pretty soon.
And I think, you know, we did Main Street for what, 2 million something? I mean, that is gonna be 4, 5? Okay, well, that's gonna be eating up, that we
issued
allocated
debt.
a number of our future funds,
We issued debt for that.
road
yeah.
funds, because of Main Street.
That had to be done.
We're
Yeah.
We've used most of our
Where
funds,
would this money come
except
from?
maybe 100,000 left.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Because when we started that project, we were getting about 200, and we thought we'd use about 100 on Main Street. Now we're getting what, over 300 in tax, I wanna say.
Yeah,
We're
I mean, our
We're getting a
1%
lot more,
sales
but Main
tax.
Street costs more too, so.
I mean, if you look at the 1% sales tax fund, there's almost $1 million in there right now. 300 of that goes to the Crocker Bridge. So we are building a fund, and we see good sales tax revenue from that each year. So we could have done a significant project this year. We could have, but some of the bigger priorities set by this council are $1 million projects. East Main Street and West Main Street each or $1 million to do.
I like how we can touch almost the entire town for 100,000. Where you do a road, you're benefiting, I mean, I know people, all sorts of people are driving, but you really impact a lot of houses doing all the alleys, you know?
I was thinking that too, instead of doing one road where maybe half the town doesn't go on that road.
Yeah.
Alleys would kind of sprinkle it throughout the town. And especially down here in my Ward 4. The last 2 years with 78 being constructed, the alleys are getting used
Oh, sure.
regularly, constantly. So they're getting worn down even quicker.
Gravel's not the way to go. You're gonna have to buy a maintainer to maintain them after every rain. They will pot out, pull out. You're gonna have a lot of maintenance on gravel roads. How did we do the street off from High Street? By the county, or not by the county, but by the town. What did that cost? We didn't have any trouble with curbs and gutters and all that crap with that.
Well, I mean, that wasn't really an alleyway. That was really a street more than an alleyway, but.
So what's a street? A registered
Street's the same as an alley.
Which street? I'm sorry, which street are you talking about?
That's
Oh, Badger Court.
road.
It's got an address, so it's
Yeah.
gotta be a
It's a
street.
private road. You're right, it was a private road.
even-
We
we
didn't put any blacktop on the damn thing.
It's not a private road. We had a right of way all the way back to Kelly Park through there. So we had every right to pave it. So,
I'm not saying it, that's right, but still, we as a council had rejected paving it, and then it got.
I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. at
A
all.
rock road will be a never-ending expense to fix them,
Yeah.
to keep them up. That's the last paragraph of this thing said, material price subject to increase. Any additional material incurred will be added to your final invoice.
Yeah.
I think we need to look into this more. This kind of got shoved onto us quickly here.
So Harvey, what do you think is,
It's either
what's a middle of
once
the
in a
road?
while, but-
Between gravel and paving a normal street, is there a middle of the road thing you're thinking that we could?
Yeah,
Okay,
do what the township does,
is that a chip? in-
Blacktop?
yeah. Lay blacktop. We need to look at it at least.
We would have to do engineering.
Would they be interested in doing 15 alleys?
Well, we
Whatever
wouldn't,
there is.
blacktopping, we wouldn't be doing them all at once, for sure. Cause it's gonna be,
But once you
Cost
blacktop them, they might be good for 20 years.
So can we avoid engineering costs and get an estimate?
yeah,
on blacktop?
we could just,
Yeah, we didn't engineer whatever street or whatever alley.
yeah, we just partnered with the township and
Badger
did
Court.
them that way too, so.
How would you, gravel or blacktop?
Change the water.
Silence is golden.
I mean, we all would prefer asphalt.
Blacktop or concrete? Can't go concrete, so we gotta go blacktop.
I'm sure everybody prefers asphalt. I was just offering you guys, as the council, a cost-effective way to do something with the
25
alleys.
plus alleys.
But if you want me to pursue, looking at asphalt and trying to do it with the township,
Well, you're gonna
that's
have
gonna
to,
change the game.
you'll have to address a lot of these alleys in the first place before. You can't just go out there. and
Oh, you're-
blacktop the whole
yeah.
thing. So
You're gonna have to
why
probably
not,
do
why
this.
not do it in 2 stages? If you're going to blacktop, you could do this first and then blacktop them a year from now or so. But my problem here is that now we're saying we're gonna increase the cost of this thing by more than twice as much by blacktopping, which is gonna take a lot of money out of the street fund, and it's not gonna gain us very much.
But if we can forget about it, as Harvey says, for a decade or two, rather than use a bunch of maintenance on it all the
If
time.
there's-
Yeah, but.
If there's some alleys that are okay, forget them.
That's gonna be a god awful amount of money. That's like fixing all the streets in town. just don't see this as a year to even consider doing that.
I don't think it would hurt getting a number though, Greg, do you, as we
Oh, I don't
compare?
mind that, you get the number. I would just have to say I'm not opposed to doing what the original plan is here.
First of all, you'd have to see if the county's interested in doing it.
Well, the township, it wouldn't be the county, it'd be the
Yeah,
township. It'd be a couple of townships and,
They've helped us
and they would
several
help
times.
us. Yeah, they would help us.
They did it
This
too.
bid's good for 30 days.
Oh, you can always renew the, cause that, cause I have a couple questions for him from Alderman Schlegel anyway, so. They're all wanting work, so they would happily rebid it if.
I'll make a
30
motion
days
that
up.
we contact the county to see if they're interested in doing it and give us a guesstimate price.
It's not necessarily on the agenda, it's just if you don't want to do what's on the agenda, direct me to do something different.
Okay, so direct.
So is that a motion to table?
So, no, actually, we've not taken a motion on either items 3 and 4.
I would recommend it, just letting it die
Yeah.
without a motion at all.
That's 3 and 4?
Gotta
Unless-
make a motion and let it die, don't you? Can't do it.
Well, okay,
There was no-
here's the deal. Is there a motion to waive formal bidding?
Correct way to do it.
Hearing no motion, the proposal dies. Is there a motion to consider the Porter Brothers Alley maintenance quote? Hearing no motion, the proposal dies. Item 5 is a payment request, beginning on your page 52. Is there a motion to approve that and a second, and then we can discuss that if you have any questions?
So move.
Goes through 52 to 54, just the 3 pages there. Any questions on that?
So is this the end?
I believe so. How's that for an answer?
No. Then I vote no.
I asked them the same question because I believe it is.
Porter seems to be happy. They have a habit of jacking us every now and then. This is the second, third time, isn't it? Third pay request.
This is within the budget. This is within the project that was approved. On page 54 of your packet shows kind of a breakdown of the project. There was one change order because we had a couple,
31,000 worth.
right? But if you took away the change order, I don't want to say we're under budget, but other than the change order, it's still less than the overall project when you add the change order. They've done the work, there's been no further issues.
How much should you approve for that? Project cost estimate was 213 and we're up to 250 plus 30 for
Yeah.
Will and Hoffman, so that's 280. So we're substantially over what we projected.
You awarded the bid to Porter Brothers for $222,678.10, and you approved the agreement with Willett Hoffman for $40,000. And then you approved the change order number 1. So you have approved a total of $254,522.86 plus the $40,000 or what you've paid thus far to Willett Hoffman, $30,961.50. So you are still within what this council has already approved. This is just a pay request. This isn't a change order. This is basically paying them for what has been done and already approved.
We could pay this bill and if they come for more money, we can always turn that down.
Okay.
But this is
Not
within
that
the,
it'll- not that it'll work, but we can do it.
there any further questions or comments? All right, Clerk, would you call the roll?
Bruckner,
Yes.
Cruz. Yes. Schlegel,
Yes.
Travell,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Zeidemar,
Yes.
motion carries.
Beginning on the packet page 55, a request for proposals on painting of public buildings. Again, this was described in City Administrator Melton's note to us from last Friday. And it has been reviewed by council. Is there a motion to approve issuing this RFP?
Why are we doing the Norwich building? We're in, I thought we had discussion, we're gonna sell it.
I don't know if we landed on that.
We were talking about
I
selling.
think we were talking
I know
about,
we haven't had
we're
a-
talking about renting it at some point
Yeah.
too.
For discussion, we're gonna move the salt and stuff out to the other place.
We need that right away, but yeah, I didn't think we landed on some.
So how much does it cost to paint the building?
Yeah, I couldn't quite tell.
That's what the
Just
request.
our-
We're asking a
proposals is.
proposal for.
Yeah, that's what
To get
we're
a
trying to
quote.
get.
To get a quote.
You're approving the bid spec to put out, so we can find out if we want to paint all 4 plus 5, plus the township building, with options, because 4 out of the 5 or 5 out of the 6 roofs.
just a proposal, not a.
This is to
Asking
seek,
for a proposal.
to seek bids.
Asking for bids.
Okay.
And I thought it would be a good idea to paint the township building. It's kind of in a local touristy spot, the covered bridge in the area. It does need painting. It looks like heck. And it just improves the appearance of city property. And especially in an area where there is traffic and tourism, and I just thought it would look better. Because you can see that from Harvey's property and beyond, and it should look good.
City has to be a good example to all these other people in town.
And again, this doesn't obligate us to paint a thing. It just allows us to reach out and ask for somebody to tell us how much they'll charge us to paint it. That's it.
And I did my homework on this, and I had our attorneys review it, and I hope I didn't miss anything.
It's just painting.
We have a motion on the
No,
table.
we don't have a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Okay,
West is, okay, 2 seconds.
Did we?
No, Vern interrupted when we started saying, is there a motion?
Yeah, there's no motion on this yet.
now there is. There's a motion that's been seconded. It's on the table.
Individual voice.
We have had fair amount of discussion. Is there any further discussion or questions? At this point, there is no money involved, so we can do a voice vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carries. Three discussion items. Reminder about the strategic plan workshop. And that will take place here or?
Yeah, we will do it here on the 19th August. Just keeping it on there just to remind y'all.
Can you give us an update, Brian, on what kind of, how many surveys we're looking at and stuff?
The last update on the surveys, they extended it till today. I haven't heard from Mindy from NIU yet, but last week it was short of 300 surveys. Out of approximately 1,900 that went out. So they said the usual response is about 20%, so we're getting close. So that's their usual expected response in those surveys. The effort that matters.
The next information item is regarding the equipment and quote for the water department. Again, this is for information only. Administrator Melton described it a little bit in his document on Friday. You have the presentation starting in your packet on page 58, the proposal for this type of equipment. And again, this is for discussion only, but we did ask Shane to appear, and we're really happy he's here. And this will be the time to ask questions of either Brian or Shane on the project and what's behind it and what we hope to achieve if we go any further with it.
I will ask Shane to kind of give a brief intro on the HydroStop.
So HydroStop is one of the leading companies in the world for line stop equipment and insertion valves. We currently have 2 sets of line stop equipment. So we can go in, we can dig a hole, we can put a plug in temporarily, do the work we need to, take it out, and then seal that back up with a special sleeve that goes on. HydroStop is getting away from that. There are still other manufacturers that produce those sleeves for line stops, but the way the trend is going is insertion valves. So we can do literally the same job, but we can put a valve in instead. So if we need to, say I need to replace a valve, I've got to do 2 line stops, which means I have to dig 3 holes. And I have to dig them 40 feet on either side of that hole. Whereas if I can do an insertion valve, I dig 1 hole, put the valve in, and I'm done. Just to give you an idea, that extra $30,000 that was spent for the hydrant program, that could have all been saved if we had that equipment. If we do 10 insertion valves, that equipment pays for itself. We have the loop from Maple to Elm coming up. We have to do 2 insertion valves on that. It's gonna cost $17,000. We have to have it done. Like I said, we have equipment, but it doesn't, not all of it is compatible with the insertion valve equipment. Some of it is. Some of it can be utilized with that. And we can keep the line stop equipment if we ever need to do line stop, because there's still gonna be situations where we need to do a line stop versus a valve. But it's very versatile equipment, and it can save us a lot more time as opposed to digging 3 holes.
So in 2 years, we could pay for this equipment.
Okay.
You figure,
Mm-hmm.
well, that's kind of a no, right? Right?
In my mind, yes, it is.
In my mind, it would be too.
Well, a lot of times you have to wait too. Like, didn't we have to wait a couple, like, with the hydrant out by Cherry Street, didn't we have to wait for 3 or 4 days before HydroStop could even get here?
Well, it wasn't HydroStop, it was a company that we hired. They use HydroStop equipment, but yeah, we had to wait for them. But see, with contracting it out, we are the ones that are digging the holes, prepping the line and getting it ready.
Right.
This company shows up, does the work, takes them about an hour, and then they're out. So if you're having them do a line stop, which is on average about $6,000, we're already there digging the hole. And then they come in for an hour, do the line stop, and then they're out. Whereas if we're digging the hole and we have the equipment, all we're paying for is the sleeve that goes on the line. So yes, in 2 years' time, it'll definitely pay for itself.
It is a no-brainer, but we wanted to introduce it to you and let you guys stew over it before we
It's just
We
because
requested the
Cybershop's
purchase.
not doing that type of working.
No, they started off doing line stops. That was their bread and butter. Now, the way things are, they're transitioning to these insertion valves. And by looking at the sleeves that they use, you couldn't tell the difference other than an op nut that would be on top. And the other advantage to these insertion valves is they're rebuildable. If something happens to them, we can tear them apart and fix them right there in place. All we have to do is put the equipment back on, take it apart, fix it, and put it back into service. Whereas we're not digging it up and cutting out a valve and putting a new one in. And if you say you replace a section of main somewhere, and we have some of these valves, we can reuse them. The rubber inserts that are on them, they're replaceable. We can pull them out, stick a new one in, and we can use them somewhere else. So there's another money savings advantage to them there.
And you're adding valves to the system where if you have a break, you might be able to isolate the shutoff in a smaller impacted area.
Yes. Versus where, like many towns, we have a lot of valves that we can't get closed. I honestly couldn't even tell you the number of valves. I know it's a lot. But if we had this equipment, we could go around, say we knew where 5 bad valves were at, we could go in and put an insert valve right next to them and be able to shut down a smaller area versus having to shut down 6, 7, 8 blocks. We could narrow it down to 2 or 3.
Sounds like progress to me.
What are you looking for? Reaction?
Just information.
Just your questions, yeah.
This bid is good for 30 days.
What's that?
This bid is good for 30 days.
Yeah.
Can't vote on it tonight anymore.
Yeah, it's good for 30 days.
Yeah, I mean, they have the equipment in stock, and when we get it, what's gonna take a while is the training, because the guy that does the majority of their training is booked 2 months out.
Okay.
So we wouldn't even be able to get training on it until maybe August.
Wait till December.
Wait till December.
Train. We'll send you all to Florida.
Yeah. Just not on in Florida, they have a shop up in Chicago.
I'd say get it on the agenda.
Yeah, okay. All right. Thank you for that, Shane and council. Again, for discussion only, the notion of hiring a third party for water tower maintenance. Again, City Administrator Melton teed that up a little bit in his note to us from last week. We don't have any pictures on that right now, do we, or any papers, but
I sent that out in a separate email with my report.
Didn't get it.
You didn't get my email? And my monthly report?
I think both attachments were the same.
Got your monthly report. You said it was separate.
No, there were several attachments to my email with my monthly report. It's just kind of, yeah, just like brochure type information, PowerPoint on USG Water Solutions, but I'll let Shane introduce that a little bit too.
So what USG is, they are basically a maintenance company for water tanks, water towers, things of that nature. My past predecessors have been pretty poor about staying up on the maintenance of the water tower itself. Last big thing was done was 2012, when it was taken out of service, sandblasted and painted inside and out. Other than that, I think we've had 2 inspections. There's significant work inside the tank that needs to be done currently. What this company does is, one, they come and they do an annual inspection. Anything that's wrong, they fix. All I have to do is call them and say, hey, we found this problem, they'll come fix it. They recommend every 3 years that the tank the tower is taken out of service and cleaned, which is beneficial to the water system because we flush our hydrants once a year to clean out the water mains from the sediment that's in there. Well, the water tank gets sediment as well. So if you're gonna start somewhere, start at the top and work your way out. There are a few things, like I said, there are some things right now that need to be fixed. This company would come in, they would fix it. I don't remember the number. I want to say 5 years, possibly, maybe it was less than that. They would recommend painting the outside of the tank. Now, when you look at the numbers on this, it's pricey because what you're doing, you need to look at it this way, is you're kind of prepaying for the next big maintenance project. Whereas if we just wait, like the 12 years we've waited, okay, now we're gonna come in and the engineer's gonna come in, they're gonna say, you need to do this, you need to do this, and it's gonna cost us $250,000. Where you're kind of prepaying at today's prices to get it done tomorrow. Instead of paying tomorrow's prices tomorrow. So if 5 years down the road, because you can't tell me what that price is gonna be, we'll just say it was gonna be $500,000 worth of work on that tower in 5 years. By us prepaying that, we're paying today's prices, it may only cost us $350,000. And then you're on a maintenance fee, and like I said, they come every year, they do an inspection, if they find a problem, they fix it. And it doesn't cost us anything extra other than what we pay for our maintenance fees after that. They maintenance the tank, we still own it, we're still the owners. But we pay them to take care of it, other than draining it.
So what are we scheduled to do with it now? We're gonna put a aerator thing in it, right?
Yeah, which needed to be done, which should have been
Should have
done.
been done
It
with.
should have been done in 2012, and it wasn't.
Yeah. I tried to tell them that back then.
There's people I told that to too, and they didn't listen.
They never listen.
They're not hearing.
But yeah, that is phase 4 that we're working on right now.
Yeah.
To be done later this year, beginning of next
So-
year.
Just like that
So
generator,
they have to drain the tank and stuff for that now?
to clean down at the bottom. You got, the bowl gets sediment in there, and plus you get it down at the bottom of the top. So yes, once every so many years, it's recommended to drain the tower, clean all that sediment out, just as if I would go open up a hydrant, to flush any sediment out of the water main. You're doing the same thing with the tower.
They're saying we haven't seen that since 2012.
No, hasn't been cleaned since 2012.
This is basically a
It's
preventative.
basic maintenance,
Right.
is what it is.
Yeah.
So would that be part of what this company does?
Yes, it would be included in the payment schedule that they have set up.
Well, just,
Well, would that take care of something we're doing now?
no,
I guess
no.
We're not doing anything, we haven't done anything.
Well,
But I think what he's saying is like the aerator,
yeah, we're gonna have to drain it or whatever and clean it.
would that be included if we sign
No.
up for them?
Huh?
No, we are doing the aeration project already in process. This maintenance with USG Water Solutions would come in after that project.
Yeah, we're too far along in that.
We're too
project
far
to
along
get
in the aeration
included in
project
this.
to,
But this company does do mixing systems, but unfortunately, I didn't get with this company soon enough to be able to put the mixing system in under their watch. So in this instance, we're going to pay to put this mixing system in. And if it fails in 5 years, we're on the hook to fix it. Whereas if it had been in with USG's project, as long as it was under warranty, they would have fixed
Are these other local towns using these guys?
it. Yes,
That you know of?
there are several. Rock Island uses it, East Moline, Princeton, Algonquin, Gurney, I've talked to all of them. And not a single one of them has a bad thing to say.
How long have they had
Roughly.
roughly?
Some of them are fairly recent, 2 to 3 years. There was, I think it was the city of Gurney. They've had, they've been in their program for 10 years. They've had one of their storage tanks repainted. Any issues there ahead, they said, they called the sales rep up, told them what was wrong, sent a crew out, fixed it, and they were good to go. But nobody has had any issues with them, negative wise, so. One guy said, he's like, I had a light bulb on it. It was like, oh, they came and replaced the light bulb. It was its maintenance. And they did.
So is this the only pricing we have, or
Yeah.
it looks like on page 12 of that PowerPoint? It has some, it's a graph of, I'm assuming it's the annual fee. We don't have specific,
We don't have, they gave us a rough estimate, but it was with a mixer. But since then, we've asked them for an updated maintenance cost for it over the next 5 and even up to 10 years without the mixer, because we're doing the aeration project.
what was the original price with the mixer?
But with the mixer was, the first 5 years was like 120,000 a year. And then it drops way off.
But then after the first 5 years, then it drops down to basically what is considered a maintenance fee. So it went from 100 and some thousand to just over 50,000 a year.
After they get everything up to speed.
After they get everything up to speed, yes.
Yeah, because there's a lot of repairs and
Yeah,
things to do, to include painting in that first 5-year plan. So basically,
What did we pay 12 years ago to paint it? Of course, that was probably different things. I remember when all that went on, but I don't really have.
I can't remember what that cost was, but I remember you saved like $12,000 or $14,000 just in the color you picked to paint it. So it must have been a fairly significant cost, and I could find that out. We'll get that out, but it's pricey.
We have painted inside now.
Yeah,
So we don't have a current maintenance schedule on the water tower, other than what you guys have come up with, right?
we haven't touched the water
Which
tower.
is Limited, very limited?
we don't climb that tower.
No,
We don't have the equipment to climb
So
that
you're just
tower.
draining the tower once a year, or do you think you're doing that?
Because draining won't do anything.
Okay. So we're doing nothing, essentially.
Do we have enough in our water fund, to do this without significantly raising? Oh,
Well, that's what we need to get an updated cost to it and put it in the numbers and.
Right.
And see if we can afford to do it, and it might be a question, can we afford not to do it, kind of thing too.
I have another question for Shane. Do you think this would change the quality of water in town? As far as, some people say it's bad quality.
The aerator itself.
The aerator is the biggest problem.
That
Putting that in that will take care of the majority of the complaints.
I mean, I've never had any issues, and I've lived in town my whole life and had city water, I was 6 years, but.
you didn't start out as a redhead though, Todd.
Yeah, no, I was blonde on that.
Okay, it's not the iron. Okay.
So the aerator gonna help, but just
Yes.
general.
Tremendously.
In the aerator, the looping projects,
Mhm.
and then the maintenance should eliminate any issues.
And all of them, but yeah, it'll definitely reduce the complaints we get.
It
You're always
had,
gonna get some complaints no matter what. It's just
it
the
had an
nature of the
aerator,
beast.
excuse me, it had an aerator in it before,
No,
but they took
didn't.
it out. It
No.
didn't?
Mm-mm. The way it was set up prior to 2012 was well 4 had a direct line that pumped into the top of the tower. Kind of, sort of aeration,
Okay.
but what happened was that pipe got full of holes and Gary, they deemed it not worthy of replacing. So to save $10,000, we decided not to replace it.
Yeah, I remember all that.
So. And I had multiple conversations with them, and I told them that's wrong. I said, don't do it. I said, it's gonna cause problems. You're gonna use more chlorine, you're going to get stagnant water, because what happens is you're now filling the tower from the bottom, so you're pushing the water up. You're creating a column. So at the very top, you're getting a deadhead space where you have no chlorinated water. And then in the winter, that warm water and that cold water flip.
Right.
So then that's where you get your problem. That's you get your water quality problem. Because when that water flips, you now have that unchlorinated water coming down, and that's the first one that goes into the system. Well, that's not a good thing. So that's where the mixing system comes into play. So everything mixed, it keeps the water from icing up to a point where it creates an entire layer in the tank. Because once it does that, well, then you have the possibility of it pushing the tank out. Whereas if it's constantly mixing, you'll get a little rimmer on the outside, but you're not gonna get a solid sheet of ice at the top.
It's just
Honestly,
like,
I'm surprised.
So with that aerator, we don't need that mixer then. The aerator would be in place of the mixer.
I'm sorry, what was
The
it?
aerator would be in place of the mixer.
The mixing system is what we're putting in.
Okay.
It's
all right, good.
aerator mixer.
Aerator mixing
Okay,
system,
I know
okay.
that was- Okay, that's. the-
Basically, it's just a pool jet, you know, you stand in front of the jet in your pool. That's what it's doing. It's just gonna keep the water
All right,
circulating.
that makes sense. And right now, we have no circulation,
There's nothing in there.
and that's been since 2012.
Yep.
It just blows me away, we have no maintenance on our water in 2024.
So can I ask you why there is air in the water at my house? Turn on the faucet or whatever, the air comes out along with the reason for that? And then
No.
there's another person.
I mean, sometimes you
person I know-
do get air in the water in the system. Could be there's an air pocket somewhere. That's what flushing hydrants is supposed to help too. If you happen to, you know,
Would it
there's
close
always
loop?
water, there's always air entrained in the water when we pump it. A lot of times, the majority of it is supposed to release itself in the water tower.
Would a closed loop help that, Shane? With the air or no?
water line don't go anyplace else. Just the house down there, you're dead end, probably.
Well, Delbert gets air in his water too.
And if you're on a dead end line, that could be more problem because that's where air would want to gravitate to.
So I've learned a lot,
Looping.
and I think it's harder to sell preventive maintenance to the community, but when you put it like Shane does, that it's gonna improve water quality, I think it, you know, that's gonna help, especially if we have to increase fees a little bit.
It has something that has to be done. Should have been done. Needs to be done.
Well, it should have been done all along, and it hasn't been.
So prior to 2012, had you done anything else prior to 2012?
No, and
Just
as
that.
long as
pipe
I've
that
been
went
here,
up.
there hasn't been any real
No, you
tank
didn't.
maintenance other than inspections and major rehab projects.
When did you start?
I think I started in '99. I've got over 25 years.
I sure hope that ball doesn't fall off the tower one of these days.
No,
Wouldn't that be something to see?
but the tank was built in 1969,
69?
so it's not getting any younger. And so it's probably prudent to do a little more regular maintenance on it. So that's what we're looking at. That's why Shane brought this to you tonight.
Good.
And once we
Yeah.
get some more,
Thanks.
Well, the water tower's a huge asset. I mean, consider what it would take to rebuild, to build a brand new one. $1.5 million or more. And we're putting maintenance into to extend the life of what we have now. We can get in this program and keep up on it, and we could extend its life for another 50 to 75 years.
you're on tape.
You won't be here.
Yeah.
He'll be on YouTube.
50 years.
I don't
Yeah, you
know.
can say 80 years.
You're on YouTube, it lives forever. Okay. Any further items for discussion? Thank you again, Shane, for your time. It's evening, I understand that, and we appreciate you being here. Staring into the sun. All right.
Got shades too. Put the shades on.
You wouldn't take it seriously then.
Yeah, exactly. Okay,
Executive session.
at this time, it's motion to end public session and move into executive session would be entertained.
Second.
Correct. Is there any opposed moving to executive session? If not,
Bye.
current public session is closed. I didn't bring the recorder. That's fine. You have it.
Not that there's anybody on, but for people
Yeah,
who
you
watch it in
need
the
to do
future.
that, yeah. Appreciate that. I don't see anybody in person waiting to come back, so. We're not proposing any action following the executive session, so as always, a motion to adjourn is in order.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. At 8:08, we are adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen. It's all gentlemen.